Hey, folks, welcome back to the Pulse. My name is Matt, and this is Crypto Heartbeat. What's going on, my friends? How are you this fine day? Today, we're talking about authority. Man, I'll tell you what, got a lot to say about this. This world that we are in the midst of has some really interesting characteristics. And we're going to be talking about authority today as we wait for folks to come on into the chat here today. But I've had a pretty interesting day. This is Holy Week. And for those of you who are observing Holy Week, or those of you who are curious about what is Holy Week, well, to Christians across the world, today is Maundy Thursday, as they say in the church, which this is really the Last Supper, right? This is the up in the upper room. The disciples and Jesus are having a meal, and the significance of this. There's so much around what this represents in Holy Week. And of course, one of the things I think is really huge to point out as we reflect on this day and what it represents, at least in Holy Week, is the fact that Jesus displayed something incredible, and that was washing of the disciples' feet. And if you don't know about this, that's one thing that he did, is he actually washed the feet of the disciples. And if you think about, feet were pretty nasty. They're nasty right now. You imagine back then? Man, your dogs are barking. If you think about it, there's some pretty nasty stuff when it comes to people's feet. And so this idea that you'd become a servant, and it's an incredible story, folks. If you don't know the story of the Passion Week, I highly encourage you. I mean, it's something, no matter how you process it, it's something really important to know because it's incredible. It stands out in the stories, and it's really important to know in the context because it's packed with information. But today we're going to be talking about authority, and of course, I talk about a lot of times Gen Xers do not like authority. Well, what does that mean from a generational perspective, and what is authority, and who has the authority, and what authority do you have? Do you got any authority? That's what we'll talk about today. But welcome back. I'm glad you're here. Boy, I'll tell you, one pulse chain. You know what I'm thankful for? I'll start off there. I'm thankful for Richard Hart. He came out. This is the first time I've ever seen Richard Hart apologize for anything. And I like it. I like this humility. I like to say, recognizing that people were anticipating V3 to be the last one, saying, hey guys, sorry about this. We got one more coming, and what it meant, and understanding it. And I think that's it's refreshing. It is refreshing, and I love it. And so I'm quick to praise those things that I think are admirable characteristics, and a good thing for people to know. And so if you've been paying attention to what's going on, we've got ourselves a V3 coming, or V4, but I think V4 is it's quick because they've got all these things set up to go. And so these are automated systems, but they have to manage. They have to go back to the beginning in order to rebuild things, and that creates another version. And so do not let your hearts be troubled. I've had many people on Twitter like, man, given a hard time, like, folks, you've waited this long. Why give up now? Like, it doesn't do you any good to be upset, right? Because there's too much at stake. And that's what we're talking about. That's a big theme of today. If you watched Brandon's soliloquy earlier, and he was talking about the authority of the United States government over financial institutions. And that's part of the inspiration of today's stream today. We're going to be talking about authority, and what authority do we come under, and who do we have to follow and obey, and what does this actually mean? And so I want to put this in a larger context, but also in the sense of what does this decentralized world and this new financial system that we're a part of and that we're a part of building, and what authority does it have, and how does it work, and why is it so, one, intriguing, but why is it so powerful? And that's what I always want to do, is I want to educate you. I want to lift you up. I want to encourage you, but I also want to remind you, this is a lot bigger than you think it is. I do not think it means what you think it means. Let's get into the chat, and then we'll get into the content. Probably be a quick stream today, but thanks for tuning in. It's 4:40 p.m. Central Texas time, a little later than usual here today. But you know what? It's Masters Week as well, and I'm happy about that. And I got to talk to my friend Steve. And for those of you who've been paying attention for these last 3 Fridays, tomorrow is a big one. Good Friday is tomorrow, right? Good Friday. What is Good Friday? We're going to have Steve Staggs back for episode number 4 of Right Side Up. And boy, if you've been enjoying that series, which I certainly have, and I've been having conversations with Steve offline, and it's just blowing my mind. And so, if you're interested in spiritual things, that may be a good spot for you. If you're not, that's not pulse chain shill tank. This is going to be a spiritual thing, and I think it's appropriate. It's kind of cool. It's kind of leading up to Good Friday, and so really excited about that. That is tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Time. So I encourage you to tune in, where we will have Steve Staggs back probably for 2 hours. I ask him one question. Next thing you know, I'm talking to him for 2 hours. It's fantastic. It's like the greatest thing. But folks, we are being prepared. We are being prepared for something extremely important. And it's more important than one Lambo. But here's the crazy part. You might actually be able to be successful what you're called to and have a Lambo. What? Yeah, Richard Hart said, cryptocurrency is the only thing that might increase your freedom and sovereignty and get you rich at the same time. Direct quote from the boss man. Godfather J6 is in the house. Good to see you. Welcome back. You're number 1. Sam Kemp's ready to go. Good to see you, Sam Kemp. Man, let's go Texit, folks. There's some exciting things brewing. Francis Powell, hello, all my online ghosts. The usual suspects are here. Clint Trons, good morning, y'alls. Thanks for being here. I respect your authority. Do you respect my authority? Clint Trons, I respect your authority. Well, that's what we're going to talk about. That's really cool, engaging with that. Mr. Rock Jockey, hey, Matt, what's going on? Checks my pulses here. Good afternoon, Texans and Hexicans. Fantastic. And Hexy Quinn, bringing she just brings a lot to the table. You know what I'm saying? With all you dudes, it's nice to have Hexy Quinn here. Scott Atwell, good morning from Queensland, Australia. I assume that's it. I may be wrong. Graviton, hello all. Hope all's well. Respect is earned, not given. Yeah, and what does that mean? Respecting authority. Because you're right. There's 2 separate things, right? There's the respect, and then there's the authority. That's a good question, and that's a good point. It's important to dissect it like that. Drix, Crypto Heartbeat, perfect timing. I got a big gap in my schedule. Perfect, man. Maybe we'll be able to take care of some things. What's up, John's Music? Amen, amen. Crypto Pay, good morning, people. Davis, I respect honest authority. Hey, there you go. A certain type of authority. Where does authority come from? DJ and Dougie Peach in the house, saying hello to Mr. Lee. Miss Jess, absolutely. Dave Down Under's here. Easter Friday here now. Happy Easter, Heartbeat family. It is Easter Friday. So this would be Good Friday, as we call it, with Dave Down Under. And this is an important day. Good Friday. You think about Jesus going to the cross, right? Being crucified. And, we are celebrating Maundy Thursday here. We're still in the evening time of Thursday. And so we recognize that as this Last Supper. Scott Atwell, the authority of love is so powerful. There you go. Mr. Chira just joined. What are we talking about? We're talking about authority. We'll get there after we get through these great comments in here. Great seeing you live. Thanks for Crypto Arts, Mixed Crypto Arts. Getting my articulation down. Rich Liberations here. Wen V5. DJ and Dougie Peach, you're right. You know what? I don't care how many it takes. It's going to be the right time. It's going to be the right time. And I'll talk to you about why I believe that that's true. Because here's the thing, folks. This is not an accident, and you are not alone. That's all I have to say. Jockey Clocky, what's going on? JK, perfection will make us all gods amongst men. Interesting. Will make us all gods amongst men. Interesting. It's a simple fork. There you go. Texan, Tailgate, let's go. Crypto Heartbeat. Man, I loved your first cut, man. You are a talent, my friend, Forrest. Nico, what's going on? Another Brisbane boy here. What? That make maybe 4. Yeah, 4 of them. Hey, we just, we're not internationally known, but we've been known to rock the microphone. Ego Foundation. Hello. What's going on? Like burning a CD. There you go. There you go. Hex Force 1. Hello, everyone. I don't want Pulse Chain before it's ready. Of course not. Who does? But I do respect the fact that Richard is giving us an update and he's got some humility, and it's incredible. I love it. Evening from the UK. What's going on, folks? Everything is under attack. I fight authority. Authority always. I fight authority. Authority always wins. Yeah, I remember that song. Was that John Cougar Mellencamp or something like that? Bobby Hexelrod, Masters Week, and Holy Week, all wrapped into one. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. My boy Jordan Spieth is doing pretty well today. Yeah, some pretty amazing stuff going on. Tiger had a little bit of a tough time, but he's got basically all kinds of hardware in his leg now. DJ and Dougie Peach, happy Passover to my Jewish folk. Also, Academaciated. Hello, you killed our currency. Prepare to die. My name is Brendan from Rags to Riches. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Rich Liberation with the love. Davis, don't forget to take profits. There you go. Let's get it to be parabolic first, though. That'd be nice. Crypto Compassion. Hello, everyone. Liberty or Death is saying hello to the Texan family. Amen to this channel. Thank you, Matt. Thanks so much, Texas Life. Appreciate you being here. Taryn, just dropping by to say hello. I'll have to catch the replay. Thank you so much. Paul Op 7, hello. The authority is given and comes from God. Whoa. There you go. There's a big statement right there. Hexy Quinn, Mr. Dougie. Proverbs 10:4, MJ Money. What's going on, man? Look at this. Dave Down Under is V4. 2 more weeks. Yeah, probably, likely. Yeah, John Cougar. I apologize. He did change that name a couple different times, didn't he? Thank you very much. Mellencamp is not a part of that one, is it? V4, then Mainnet, and V8, man. There you go. Spirit Falcon's last one here, and we will continue with the content. Good Friday here in Australia, I assume. Is that right? Yeah, hope all are well. It's either Australia or Austria, but I'm obviously not that smart. I got my son here today. This is pretty cool. He's got a half day today. They were doing some great things over the Easter trip. He doesn't want to come on to stream. Do you need something, buddy?
Can I use the cord to plug in my video?
Yes, you may. All right, we're going to take a short break to get my son what he needs, because that's what you do, right? Come on, Dad. All right, right here, buddy. Come on around the backside. Just don't step on anything. Don't kick the cord out of the wall, son, even though I advocate for kicking the cord out of the wall. So let's talk about what we came to talk about, and that is authority. So this big question, do you respect authority? Well, where is this authority? You know, I pulled up ChatGPT, and I thought for fun, I was like, I wonder what ChatGPT thinks, right? AI thinks of the authority that we're given. So I asked it about our rights. And what was really fascinating was ChatGPT responded and basically said that we get our rights from basically the government. And that's really interesting, because you and I know that we do not get our rights from the government. And I think so many people in this world believe that we get our rights from the state. And so we talk about this a lot because we talk about Texas independence. We talk about all those that are authoritarians across the world. We think about all of these people that are trying to divide us and all of these things. And it's packed into our language that we give our authority away, and who we are and what we do and what we're about. Actually, in some cases, we have been, well, in all cases, we've been lied to. I bring this all the way back to the original sin, right? This was the lie that the serpent, the devil, said to Eve, and the authority was given away. And what's really interesting about that is we continually do this. And so I was talking to Steve earlier today, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was talking to him and I said, you know, the people of Texas, and it was just off the cuff, right? I said, the people of Texas, you know, they deserve a right to vote. And if you heard that, you'd probably say, yeah, Matt, they deserve the right to vote, right? They deserve that. And he said, hang on a second. Think about what you're saying. When you think of what you deserve, that's something that's granted to you or gifted to you by someone in authority above you. And you know what's interesting is when you kind of get caught yourself kind of flat-footed and recognize the errors of your ways. You know, we use very loose language, but if you really think about it, he said, you know, it's probably more accurate to say the people of Texas demand their voices be heard. Do you see the difference there? And it was really profound for me. He's like, hang on a second, just think about what language we're using. We're using language that says we are coming up underneath an authority that has no authority over us, right? In the Declaration of Independence, it says that these these rights that we have, they're self-evident, that all men are created equal and given certain inalienable or unalienable, they mean the same thing, rights. By whom? A creator. So I think it's really important that we look at the very core. And so because we talk about politics and we talk about governance and we talk about nations and we talk about currency and we talk about community and borders and laws and rules and leaders on this channel, let's talk about where the actual authority comes from, right? By the authority vested in me, I hereby what? Right? So there's authority that's vested in you. You're coming up underneath authority. So think about this. You're the deputy, right? If you get deputized, what does that mean? You have a certain authority, right? If you are given authority to represent, right, it's given you come up underneath a certain authority. And what's interesting about that is the founders of America, and I think that this is probably one of the most profound things that gives us guidance to really talk about this story is that, Davis said, I only trust honest authority. Okay. Well, let's think about what is the literal origin of authority. Well, I think it's spelled out in the Declaration of Independence, but more importantly, who are you? You're not an animal, right? You have certain unalienable rights that are self-evident. Well, where do those come from? Well, in the Declaration of Independence, it says they come from God, meaning they come from the creator of this whole shooting match. Okay. What Steve reminded me of is the fact that we have to rest and sit there. And of course, it's Holy Week, and I'm thinking about this to say, what is this authority? We talk a lot about that if a man is ruled from within, he does not have to be ruled from without, meaning the state. And right now, what we're seeing is the state in its heavy hand. Well, people are getting out of hand, man. You've got this DeFi stuff and you've got this crypto stuff, and we're losing control. And so, what do we want you to do? Come up underneath my authority. And I think what's really interesting on this idea of freedom and sovereignty is actually somewhat of a misnomer. Because if you really think about this, and this is in the Christian tradition, so I'm bringing to you a perspective that's based on my worldview, and I believe it's true, like 100% true, and that you are unique. You're unique. You're not an accident. You were created for a purpose. You have certain skills, abilities, capabilities, and you have a place and you have a purpose. Now, I'd be interested, do you, and this would be a bold statement if you do in the chat, do you believe, +1 in the chat, if you believe that there is a purpose and a plan for your life? Like you're here for a reason. It's not an accident. Put a -1 in the chat if you believe that this is just survival of the fittest. This is just, I don't know, this is just an evolutionary accident that a bunch of like atoms bumped together and formed into, you. And that when you die, it's just over, lights are out, doesn't get any better. And so that's it. So if you believe you're somebody who actually was created for a purpose and there's a plan for your life, okay. So inherently in that, so many +1s here, right? Chris Side Effects, Facing Reality, Nico, Extravagant Taste, Jack Handy, Crypto Compassion, Ryan Hungate, Lighthouse, Clintron, Sam Kemp. So obviously a lot of people see this, right? They see, okay, yeah, there's a purpose and a plan. Well, I think the fact that you even exist, the fact that you can articulate, you can even type a +1 into the chat indicates to me that, hold on a second, I do exist. And you feel a certain amount of autonomy. But one of the things I think is really interesting about authority and what I think the founders of America understood and what I think we need to get back to, because we're coming into a crisis era where we have to lead like they led. Sam Kemp, you ready for that? You, Sam Kemp, are leading like those historically have led. What did they lead from? They led from these principles. And what are these principles? Well, they're truth. You're saying these things are self-evident. It's interesting. In this time, there's not a whole lot of things that people would agree are self-evident. What is a woman, right? Anheuser-Busch doesn't know. right? What are these things? How many genders are there? Whatever it may be. And you can make a humongous list of all of the things that are not self evident to people, or people would debate whether they're true. And this is this postmodern idea. Well, I submit to you, there are things that are true. And I think also this idea that the fact that you exist in this context and can type +1 in the chat is an indication that you have a certain amount of autonomy. However, what is true freedom? I think a lot of times we think in terms of governmental freedoms, freedom to, Second Amendment freedoms to bear arms, right? That's a real classic one that people talk about a lot. I mean, I saw today in the House chamber in Tennessee, they're wanting to kick out some guys that were protesting that broke the rules. And, all this controversy around that and politicization of these children who were killed and these adults who were killed in this Christian school. But really what I think it comes back to is this idea that there's a tether. And, Steve said this to me, and I think he said it in the last time we met. Whoever you listen to, you are essentially a slave to. Interesting. Because who you listen to and whose authority you come underneath is an indication of your allegiance, right? So if you recognize that you're not God, which I do, I recognize that every day, and I'm reminded by my wife daily that I am not God, right? And when you recognize that you are created being with a purpose and a plan for your life, you have to recognize, all right, who am I going to listen to? What am I going to listen to? What authority am I going to come up underneath? And I think that the founders of America understood something fundamentally. You can't build a solid foundation unless the people have an internal tether. What is that internal tether for you? Well, they suggested that all men are created equal, right? Equally. Each person, man, woman, child, all of these folks, there's these self-evident rights that you have that are not given to you by the state. And so as we talk about Texas independence and we talk about this future that we might live in, and because we know it's, for and by the people, that if you really boil this down, it's like we got together in Hexaco. We said, this plot of land right here, this is going to be Hexaco. And some people get together and they say, what should things be like in Hexaco? You say, well, what are the rules? And what are the rules for? And as you try to build a framework around what, how we would live, you've got Chris Side Effects. And he's like, man, I think that you need to stay out of my business. And somebody else is like, yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Right. So we contribute to this and we create this framework and foundation for things that need to be taken care of. Like maybe some water service, electricity, and who's going to empty the trash, and there's all kinds of things. And what about disputes, and how are we going to handle those disputes? Should they be fair? Is it literally like I don't know, Augusta National, where one guy's in charge of everything? A benevolent king? Is it a monarchy? Is it a republic? Is it representational? Is it a democracy? What is the format and the structure? But these are things that men create. And I think one of the beautiful things about the creation of America was the fact that they recognized that the human heart is corruptible, meaning you have a choice that you can make, and sometimes people don't choose wisely. And so you have to set up systems that protect you from tyrants. They protect you from people. Well, guess what, folks? We are in a crisis era where we have tyrants on the rise. We have authoritarians on the rise. And the big question is, folks like Sam Kemp or myself and other people, many of you that are in the chat, recognize the fact that they've already gone too far, right? And the question is, when will other people wake up? Because you're thinking, what is political activity in a way that says, no, we want to peacefully make it clear how we feel. But what ends up happening is when people don't listen to you, you have to go, it becomes more and more extreme. And this happens on the macro scale and on the micro scale. This happens in your home. If you don't listen to your kids, guess what they do? They go off and find someone else to listen to them, or they punch you in the mouth, right? Or they defy you. So it's the same thing with Russia and Ukraine and America, right? If you go in and they say, hey, you shouldn't get closer, and you keep getting closer, and then you start creeping in and putting all kinds of military facilities up, and they warn you and they warn you and they warn you. Don't be surprised if you get punched in the nose. These things are pretty much universal. But what we're creating on this earth are things that we create ourselves, which we think are going to be better for our life, liberty, and happiness, right? And create a better future for us. Well, each time that we have separated ourselves from authority, we've made a list. And you see these lists in declarations of independence, right? There's a list. People don't quote it a lot, but what's the list of the usurpations? These are the things that you've done wrong. These are the things that we can't get past. These things were done by Martin Luther, and they were part of the Reformation of the church, saying, hey, these are the 95 reasons we're out of here. Right? We can't go along with this any longer. And I kind of jokingly say it, but it's true that if you mess with people's kids or their money, you got yourself some problems. Well, guess what? They're messing with our kids and our money and all kinds of other things. And so what do we want? Well, we want people to hear, and we want people to listen, and we want an opportunity to abolish or change these things. Well, that change, why? Is it just because we want turmoil and crisis? No, actually, we want the opposite of that. We want safety, security, prosperity, opportunity, fairness, right? But these things have become corrupt, right? If you asked, people, is the justice system, is it fair? Say no, rich people have an advantage. Do we have a two-tiered system when it comes to politics? Absolutely. If you're in the political power, you can basically put your political opponent and arrest him. They did that. They booked him, right? Took his fingerprints. These are the things that basically are an indication that things have gone too far. And so as we look at authority, I want to remind you, the authority that we have as individuals and the authority that we exercise actually comes from the Creator. It does not come from the state. And so everybody's going to tell you as things heat up about Texas independence that, oh, that's not legal to do. Here's the craziest thing. We think that all those folks that are in black robes in the Supreme Court are the final say. Nope. Guess who's the final say? You are. Supreme Court is just a function of what we've built to help keep this thing intact. We decided to build these structures, but guess what has authority over the Supreme Court? We do, because we created these things. And there comes a time in human events where sometimes you've got to abolish or change these things. Why? Because they're not serving the needs of the people. It's not because you just want to destroy them. It's because they are out of hand. They've grown too gangly, and we need to reboot the system. And so that's what this is about. And I want you to understand this. It was a profound experience for me earlier today talking to Stephen. He said to me, Matt, stop using the word. And he was way nicer than that. But he's like, the people of Texas don't deserve anything. They demand. Why? Because they're not giving up their God-given authority to men. And they're not giving their God-given authority to the state. We don't come underneath government authority. Right? They are given authority by us because we have been given authority by the Creator. That's the lie. The lie has been that the state, that you can't do it, that, maybe the governor gives you rights, or maybe the Supreme Court does, and they're the final say. Well, yeah, in the thing we created, maybe, because that's the construct and that's the framework. But we've never created a new thing before. We were born into it. So you have to go back to the original authority and say, what authority are we under? We are not under the authority of Janet Yellen. Because here's the thing, she might be able to make rules or get fancy people in to talk about what, all of these financial things are, and she can make up all these rules. But guess what? Within this framework, she's not the final say. She's not the judge. And so ultimately, we have to recognize what power that we have and what's given to us. But here's the coolest thing about it. And this is where I'm going to wrap it up here. This is Maundy Thursday, and what happened on this day in Holy Week? The one who had all authority. And it says in the book of John that all things were created by him and for him. So it's all his. And guess what he did? He got down and he washed the feet of the disciples. And that would have been an act of literally the lowest level servant washing dirty feet. There's a huge lesson in this for us. The one who was equivalent and equal and represented all authority became a servant. So I would submit to you all the things that make things work in this world are actually counterintuitive to what you think. You think that the heavy hand is where power is. It is not. The heavy hand is not where power is. That's the lie. That's the world that's upside down. The power is actually in the service, and it's in the authority, the real God-given authority. And what's amazing about that is what we're doing here in the blockchain. So I want to bring it home, baby. Let's take me to the river. Folks, this is a gift. The blockchain's a gift. And I do everything I possibly can every time I talk to you to remind you that this is a tool, and it's being used in the hands of, in my opinion, the creator and you, because you have been given authority by the creator for a purpose, and you're participating in something that could be animated for good. So what did Brandon and I and our team say? Hey, let's animate this thing for good. Well, what's good? Well, what do we think is good? Well, we got together and we said, you know what? I think giving this this community of people opportunity by giving the gift of an immutable contract on the blockchain. Okay, that's what we do. Do we, I don't talk to everybody, right? This is a gift to the Texas Nationalist Movement to tokenize this community. Here's the amazing thing. There's finally a tool that we can animate coming up underneath the true authority of the one who created it all and exercising something that can potentially enable others to have the kind of freedom that only is provided by the one who created it all. And what's so incredible about that vision is that we're talking about the base layer, which is the provision. What is the provision? The resources. And, if you think about this, a lot of people are like, God wound up this clock and let it go. Well, I'll say to you this. He's alive and he speaks and he's working these things out. And the question is, are you listening? Because I think what you will find is that we are all being used because we know about this stuff at this time to make a difference, not only in our own lives and in our families' lives and in the people we care about's lives. But I think what you're going to find is that you're going to be in a position of abundance, and you're going to get a picture of what I think is actually in the Christian worldview is called the kingdom of God. And this is where things are rightly related and come underneath the correct authority. And those that come underneath that correct authority make choices only based on the authority given to them. So you have work to do. You were created for a purpose. And now you have tools in your hand that you can animate for good. That's a big deal. So hold on a second. What do you mean by this? So I thought we were just staking hex, or I just thought this was Texan. I just thought this was just Texas independence. I want you to see the implications of this are birthing a new nation, but they're also something that's incredible because it's a tool by which people can see really how they relate to the ultimate authority, and that authority is where abundance comes from. And that this unlocking of generosity that comes by decentralizing the money can only be done if we find ourselves like the one who washed the feet. Because what is the act of service of serving those? And you think worldview, like there's the Son of God came to earth to serve. And what's interesting is the Pharisees and the Sadducees thought this guy was going to come and kick everybody's butt. He's going to be like a roaring lion. And he came in like a lamb. And he exposed the heart. Richard Hart exposed the heart. And what is that heart? Love. At the core of all of this is this unity in the bond of peace. And that what's amazing about it is that we have something in the blockchain, in this tool, that if we animate together, what does it do? What is the byproduct? Well, community, people winning together, people getting out of bondage, people getting out of debt and consumer slavery, people having hope, people having an opportunity, people high-fiving. Do you think we need a little bit more of that in the world today? Yeah. But here's the thing, you can't just tell someone, "Hey, say these words and you'll just feel better. Take these 2 pills and call me in the morning." No, everything has to be properly incentivized. But the beauty of this abundant world is there is actually abundance and we see it. But they say it's pressed down and it's overflowing. Well, how do we get that? How do we get that pressed down, overflowing abundance? That's a big question. We get it by giving away what we want to receive. How do we do it? We do what David Lee did. You love people, you serve people, you care for people, you help them win, you share it. Because if you think about what this community coming together is, we're building a digital nation. What is a digital nation? Well, it's coming around this thing of currency. Well, what is this thing of currency but a value center? Just like a waterway in the Old West or a gold mine, this is where the value is. You don't have to move your location. You come online and listen to Crypto Heartbeat or occasionally Rags to Riches, and you realize we're in community together and we're winning together. Well, what would it look like if there were thousands or millions of people who came together for a cause? And so I want you to understand that the very, very base, lowest common denominator of what tokenizing communities is about, it's about being a catalyst for hope. Because there's a group of people all over the world, so many different communities of people who long for a future that's different. Why did they come together in community? Why did they band together? Why do they care about a cause, whether they're in the Philippines or in Texas or wherever? It's because they think that getting together in community has some benefit. So you were born into into a nation, wherever you may live, and it's got borders and it's got rules and it's got leaders and it's got currency, and it's just what you've learned. But when you understand what money is, when you understand that it's just a decree and it's just an agreement between parties, because that's how we negotiate value. I mean, at the barter system, you're like, I don't need eggs, so we're not going to be trading, Mr. Eggman. But if I need something, bartering system is about value, but value is a lot about supply and demand. Well, if you think about this, all that money is in our context is a proxy for labor, but it's a story that we're told or telling to each other about what is value. And so money ends up just being a proxy. It's a representation of our labor. And when you recognize that you are sovereign in that respect, and hopefully you come up underneath the authority of the creator of it all, and what ends up happening, you have an internal tether. And then when you get into community with Hexicans or Texicans, you high five because you're winning together. You realize that is powerful. It's powerful because we lay down our arms and we work together by serving one another. The great John Nash, he won the Nobel Prize in 1994 for game theory. And it was based on the Nash equilibrium, which is if we consider what's best for others in addition to ourselves, we all win. What does it look like? I'm going to tell you right now, the world of DeFi crypto that we're in, the greatest utility is the unity and love and byproduct of that comes when we win together. You don't need internet connections. You don't need a metaverse. You don't need breeding online critters to get more online critters. You don't need AI. The greatest possible utility of the blockchain and DeFi that we're working on is the benefit that comes from community, because it is way, way more than When Lambo. It's way, way more than just the money, but it comes with the money, because if we work together, we get all the benefits. And that's what abundance looks like. It's you go after something, you're like, I'm going to get the Lambo. And then you realize, hold on, I did this by winning together with others, but it came with all this extra pressed down, overflowing. My cup, it runneth over. Because you didn't anticipate all the things that come and benefit when you actually come alongside and care for people. If you want to be great, you need to be a servant. If you ever listen to these things, you realize, why are the last going to be first and the first going to be last? The people that want to get the recognition are the ones who have received their reward in full. Don't be like that. Be someone who is humble and serves and loves. And comes to my dad's funeral, 7.5 hours from southwestern Indiana. I see stories of Hexicans everywhere serving one another. But I'm going to tell you what, it's like that whole, Braveheart line, hold, 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 hold. Because if we break the line, they will be able to get through. And in this scenario, we're saying hold, 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 hold on. And the tokenomics drive you to hold, and it gives you incentive to hold. And when those things are aligned, we only win together. Because in a decentralized peer-to-peer network like DeFi, you're only as good as the story. Because how did they kill, the algorithmic stablecoin of Luna, right? How did FTX go down? Confidence. And I swear to you, everything comes down when the people lose confidence. It's not because, oh yeah, it's the paper's worth less. No. Or we printed too many. Well, yeah, cause and effect. But it's really about confidence in the system. And why, when we went into Ukraine and fought this war and did all of these things, why did the BRICS nations say, well, now's our time? We are tired of you using this dollar as a weapon. Tucker Carlson said last night in an amazing comment he had. He said, we did these Russian sanctions, right? Beginning the before the Ukraine war broke out over a year ago. And we were all proud. You heard Biden and everybody, well, these are the toughest sanctions that ever happened. Well, when you have the world's reserve currency in the dollar and people that legitimately sold products to other people, but they were denominated in dollars. So let's say you're a Russian oligarch. And you, by the way, you're supposed to hate anyone that has Russian and oligarch in their name. But let's say they're a real person with a real family that provides cattle or oil and gas or something, an actual product to somebody. And they get paid in US dollars because it's the world's reserve currency and everybody recognizes it. Is that your personal private property? Well, the US government says no, because we have control and we have this great power and authority, if you will, at least in the monetary system, to have the privilege of having the world's reserve currency. But when you start politically weaponizing this currency and say, we have this ability because everyone recognizes our money, you've weaponized something and you have seized something because you have that status. Well, that's what's called the beginning of the end. And that's why the BRICS nations have come together and said, we will not, and of course it didn't work very well, right? It hurt us more than them because we overplayed our hand. We went too far and we didn't respect people's private property. And so we just said, well, because we've got this, advantage, because everybody uses our money to settle their transactions, we're just going to freeze your money. We're going to take it back. And then, of course, we're going to print $9 trillion more dollars and we're going to export a tremendous amount of inflation across the world. And you're going to all pay it in higher everything. This is the downfall of the West, folks. And it's not just the money, it's the morality, it's all of these things. And you know what? People are scrambling. It's the crisis era. But here's the thing. I cannot tell you how clear I see this vertically aligned ecosystem that Richard Hart's building. I can't tell you how clearly I see, even with what Rag shared about Janet Yellen and all these rules of DeFi, there's going to be this little island. And this little island is going to be DeFi, not DeFi as most people think of it. Well, it's on the blockchain. It must be DeFi. No, you know what they're going to find? They're going to see this little island of immutable, no admin keys, no centralized organization groups, and they can't touch it. Now, even Rag said this. He's like, you know what? I guess they could come and say, you can't host a front end like Texan.cc or Hex.com. You can't host a front end. And maybe they get to somebody and there's like, if you don't take down this front end, we're going to put you in jail. Okay, or they do. Did you know you can run the contract through Etherscan? Do you know that you can build a front end? All of these things are public calls. So if you're willing to connect with a wallet and pay the gas fee, you can buy and swap on a decentralized exchange and you can stake. These things are just, the tool that we have isn't like the keys. We're just using the basic things that are the public calls. It's the same thing with Hex, and most people don't know it. You could actually publicly call these things through Etherscan itself. So what's going to be standing still? The things that are going to be standing are the things that don't have admin keys. the things that have been immutable. But here's the other thing, the thing that we've contributed to that has built value. And it's built value because of this story of us coming together and serving one another. And what are they going to end up saying? Wow, we can't touch that. What do you mean you're not using our money? What do you mean you're not taking our mark? What do you mean you're not taking our CBDCs and our digital IDs? It's profound, but it all comes back to this core authority. Where do you get your authority from? And then recognizing that what you think is authority isn't authority. Great power is actually not in a heavy hand. It's actually in the letting go and the decentralization of these things. And we have this tool and we're living at this time and we're in this position. And I will tell you right now, it is no accident that you're here. And it is no accident that Richard Hart said, hey, I think you need to sacrifice for freedom of speech and freedom of movement. You watch. You will look back at that moment and say, yeah, I didn't realize how big of a deal it was and what Richard Hart was actually standing up to defend. And yeah, I was kind of stupid because I wasn't paying attention to what he was pointing out. And you see what he becomes in the future as someone who advocates not just for you not to get wrecked by Celsius or FTX. He's going to help you get wrecked from literally the authoritarians in this world. And I'm going to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to free the captives. How are we going to do that? By helping them recognize where the true authority is and how loving one another makes the difference in communities where the value is. And we're going to birth our own damnation. And guess what? In this new nation, this Republic of Texas 2.0, it's going to be the greatest place on planet Earth for crypto. And what is it going to end up doing? It's going to have all the smartest people and all the resources and the people who want to contribute and want to be valued and want to be left alone and want to have sensible, fundamental truths represented, common sense. And there is going to be a place called Texas that is going to thrive and lead in the world. And we are going to be at the tip of the spear of recreating this new renaissance. But it requires people who can lead and people that are fundamentally rooted in the truth. And what is the truth? You aren't an accident. You are not the descendant of a monkey. Your rights do not come from the state. We find these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. And that's what we have to defend. We have to return it to popular control. But folks, we're going to do it peacefully. But here's the cool thing. What they don't realize is their desire to clamp down, their desire to control. This is a slippery one, folks. You can't put it back in the box. It's already out. And in a way, the more they mess with it, the more they promote it. And the more people wake up like you and I, and we tell our friends and we say, no, let's find a way to animate this thing by sharing the truth with people and an alternative to this tyrannical system. That's the why. That's everything. So, do you respect authority? Davis said, not authority that's not honest. Well, here's the thing. You don't get your authority from the state. You give authority to the state. We have it backwards. We think we are coming underneath the authority of the state. No, we give the authority to the state to even exist. So Steve was right. We do not deserve anything. We demand it because it is our authority and we retain it. It is our own personal sovereignty. We give this system its authority. It does not give it to us. Now, do we agree to drive by the speed limits? Sure. Do we accept certain frameworks and in certain authorities in the sense of, yeah, this is what we have kind of decided that we're going to play by these rules. But ultimately, we gave it authority to exist. And so by that same authority, we will abolish or change it. We have to change our language to understand that the authority that is vested in me is not vested by the state, but by the Creator himself. And as we work together in community and we have the provision of the money in decentralized finance, we can literally change the world and return it to popular control, and we can make it look like heaven on earth. Thanks for joining the Pulse today. My name is Matt. Do not mess with Texas, man. All right, let's get back into the chat and then we'll sign off. But that's the word for today. Understand whose authority you are under. Where do you get your authority from? All right, let's see here what we got. Wow, you got a lot of comments, man. Sam Kemp, excellent stream. We are crypto. Realize you cannot stop us. That's exactly the truth. Thank goodness for moms for sure. 36 likes. Come on, guys. 36 likes. Let's go. We should have at least 54. The prophet is a fool, and the spiritual man is mad at the multitudes of iniquity and your true hatred of man. Duck them, and we won't do what they tell us. There you go. This is what pushing back looks like, but you do it in a sensible and strategic way. Oh, yeah, YouTube hates these kinds of channels, so lots of errors. Oh, really? Were there errors? It's how we know we're early Texas life. That's right. Bright Lights 57. Good to see you. What's up going on? What's going on? That's why we do not fear the clowns. Jack Andy, you're right. Utilize YubiKeys in cold storage and stand by. Yeah, you got to protect yourself, folks. Security is so important in crypto. Log on to computer using a Gmail account that was set up with a private key. Yep. And I'm not the guy you'd come to for expert security, so I kind of hesitate to even say anything about this, but I will recognize the comments. Private keys are important. Change often comes from the most unlikely of places. Well, absolutely. Right. That's what's so interesting. I think about Moses and Aaron. Moses argued with God. It's like, man, I don't speak so good. Maybe my brother can come along with me. That's the cool thing about the real stories. It's not about those who are the tall and the handsome ones, right? They wanted Saul to be their king. Hex Farmer, sorry I'm late, Matt. Hello to all my fellow Hexicans and Texicans. Frosty Dogs here. Happy Resurrection Sunday. He is risen. This weekend, we are going to celebrate that. Easter Sunday, and I'm cooking 2 briskets, folks. I'm smoking some briskets. We got a bunch. We got like 30 people coming over. Crypto Compassion, our community rocks. The only authority I respect is God's. And there you go. That's the point. And many of you folks just preaching to the choir here. Chris Side Effects, Texicans, that's great. We'll be making a hat. Nice. Frosty Dog. Chris Side Effects, agree. Compassion. All right, let's see here. Right time, right place, to whom much is given, much is required. Yeah. And if you don't feel that, what is your role? And play your role, right? That's the thing. Do what you're meant to do and called to do. Texan Tailgate, the powers that be hate to see us love one another and communicate peacefully. Doesn't fit the divisive strategy that they've deployed. And you know what I think? I do think that they are so seeing kind of red in their own eyes that they don't even recognize that that's where the power is. And that's what's so unique about this, is that it flies under the radar. They almost think it's silly, right? Right? The stone the builders rejected has become the capstone. The stone the builders rejected. Think about this. You're building an arch, or you're building something. You can say it from 2 ways. The capstone, this very top stone. Well, this doesn't fit. This one's the runt. This one's the smallest. Oh, David, he's just the young brother. He's just the runt of the litter. He's just the smallest. It's the one that the builders rejected that becomes a capstone. That's us. That's, oh yeah, your cute little DeFi with no admin keys. Oh, how clever and how sweet and how quaint is that? Give it time, my friends. And that indication of what Hex did in 623 days is all you need to hear. Folks, this is power. It's power not because of code. It's power with code. The power's in the community. I mean, hats off to Hexo and RG3 and all those folks, and Coffee, and there's so many people, even more to even mention. Maddie. I mean, all these guys that in the beginning put their neck out there with Richard Hart. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have this thing. And we wouldn't have this example. People leading the way, pioneers. V5B coming soon. Jack Candy says, hey, Forrest, old divide and conquer game. Yeah, we're not going to let them get in here. Why? Because we have the incentive to win together. We're winning the lottery in slow motion, folks. Text and tailgate. I'd rather have peace and communication than be rich and unsaved. So I agree with you. Fantastic. Let's work together. If anyone has any wisdom about crypto on here, I'm always an open ear trying to learn. Fantastic. Texas Life. Lots of good folks here that know a lot of things. And there's a couple things, mycryptoclassroom.com. Obviously, Rags has built that. Brandon, that's a free course you can take. I wrote a book called Unlocking Generosity. It's a short read, but it's something that would help you understand DeFi. There's a lot of different resources out there. And of course, the YouTubes have a lot. Howtopulse.com is a great tool if you're looking to learn more about Pulse Chain. There's a lot of great resources out there, and I'm sure some other folks will put things into the chat as well. Everyone here has made it. There you go, Side Effects. What's up? Rags to Riches in the house. Liz Warren's eye is twitching right now. Yeah, well, she's going down. And yeah, that's public enemy number one on DeFi side. Who is in Texas? I'll be here soon. Fantastic. Austin in the house. John May. What's up, John May? Dude, we need to chat, my friend. Glen Rose Granberry. That's where the Passion Play is. Talk about a great place. And like dinosaur tracks. Hexus with the dab, Jack Candy. All right, let's see. I'm packing. Probably be there soon. Yeah, Extravagant Taste is on his way. Let's see here. Frosty Dog says, Matt, God has a special plan for you. Matt's spitting fire today. T Gray, what's going on? I appreciate that, Frosty Dog. You sense this stuff, right? And you've been prepared over time. And it's like when you see someone who's doing what they're supposed to be doing, you recognize that. Like, have you ever met somebody like this person was meant to be a musician? Like a guy like Forrest. When you see him and you see the passion and just the effortless, he's prepared, but he has a facility with music and expression that is unique, right? It's separate. And I think that, it's almost like, I think it's also an indication of how things were created. When you see something that happens that is just almost, it's like a breath. It's so beautiful, right? It's a picture of something that's as close to perfection as we can possibly find. And that's when people are doing what they're called to do. But, a lot of people are like, well, I don't know what I'm here for and what I'm doing. Well, guess what? He's alive and he is speaking, and you can ask. And here's the cool thing. You can discover the purpose that you are made for, but recognize it's not simple stuff that you are made for. It's big stuff, folks. It's important things. Understand, though, it says, delight in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. Well, that doesn't mean when Lambo. That doesn't mean I want a fast car. No. He will re-engineer the desires of your heart. He will give you his desires, and there's nothing greater than being aligned with the actual fundamental creation. Boom. Great stream, Crypto Heartbeat. Thanks, Nico. Appreciate that. From the Truth in Love. Hex go, yo. Thanks, Matt. Happy Easter. Off to church soon. Fantastic. I'm 45 of the likes. There you go. Checks my pulse. Brisket is good. Great stream. Thanks so much. Next time you can include verses from the Bible on the authorities. I struggle to know when to question authority. Yeah. Well, and you think about this too, some of the most fundamental things when it comes to authority is, so Jesus is in, he comes out of the wilderness, right? Remember, this is the temptation, right? This is where Satan comes to tempt him 3 times. And the first time he says to him, Satan says, hey, basically, I know you're hungry. So why don't you turn these stones into bread? And of course, he wouldn't have said that unless he thought that Jesus had that ability. And what does Jesus say? No, it is written, man does not live on bread alone, but out of every word that comes out of the mouth of God. And then when you see him in the Garden of Gethsemane, right before he is turned over, he is literally sweating blood. And he's praying, and he's having a conversation with the Father about, hey, if there's another way we can do this, right? Remove this cup from me. And it's like, nope, this was the plan all along. And if you think about that authority, Jesus himself was it's just such a perfect example of someone who came under the authority for the purposes and plans of God the Father. And then you think about that, is that the freedom is actually in coming under the authority and being connected to the source of all power. You don't have it inherently. You have it because of who you are. You are not an accident. ETX Crypto has been killing it on his streams. There you go. Give it to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. Amen to that, right? A 4 drachma coin in the mouth of a fish. Where can I find your book? You know what? I'm going to put that in CD, and I'm sure somebody else. Oh, actually, somebody has that link. Actually, it's in the pinned comments in the Telegram. So if you go into the Telegram, which is Texan Token, so t.me/Texan Token, and you go in there and ask for the book, they have the link. It's in the pinned comments. That's the best, easiest way to do it. And then you'll be in the community and chat with folks. Nico says, I need prayers, please. 2 things. I'm trying to onboard a guy to crypto, and my house builder has gone into liquidation. Man. Wow. Yeah, that's hard when somebody's building something and they're out of business, man. And those are challenging times, right? So certainly prayers for you, my friend. And John May, I mean, there it is. I want what God wants from me. And you know, what is it? It's intent. What is your intent? Who do you want to listen to? Right? And who have you been listening to? All right, folks, thanks for joining the Pulse today. My name is Matt. This is Crypto Heartbeat, and I appreciate you. You are under authority, and that's the greatest place you can possibly be. But do not be confused where that authority comes from. We find these things to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, right? And they're given certain inalienable rights by a creator, not by the state. And so, folks, things are heating up in this world. Do not lose hope and recognize the fact that you're in the right place at the right time, and you have work to do. And one of the greatest things that you can learn from this weekend is it's not always easy to serve. Sometimes people have stinky feet. But guess what? Give away what you want to receive. Love covers a multitude of sins. Take care, everybody, and do not mess with Texas.